Hello, and welcome back to episode 3 of Box Office Girl, an audience booked by. And today I'm so thrilled and delighted to welcome Valerie Keogh, who is a crime and psychological thriller writer. And we did meet before a few years ago, but it was quite a while ago, Val. So, do you want to tell me what's been happening with you since then?
Well, first, Tracy, thank you so much for having me again. It's lovely to be here. Yeah, I think it's 6 years since we spoke. So my career has changed so much. 6 years ago, I was still working as a nurse. Um, I'd started writing about 12 years ago now. But in my innocence, when I wrote my first book, which was That One May Smile, um, I thought that was it. I thought I'd write my first book and people would come running desperate to take me on. And I quickly learned it doesn't work like that. I did try to get an agent for years. And then it was my sister who read an article in the newspaper about somebody who'd self-published with Amazon. And she sent it to me and I thought, I've nothing to lose. So I decided I'd go for it. So I literally just, typically of me, I just went on and put it on, made my own cover, put it on. Over the next year or so, I learned the reality of the situation, that you really do need to get a book professionally edited. You do need to get a professionally made cover. So I learned my trade as I went along, and at the same time I kept writing. So I hired an editor, which was a huge step for me. I had 9 books self-published. And then in 2018, I was going through a difficult part in my job. And I decided I really need to get out of this job and write full-time, which is what I'd always wanted to do. So I had already submitted to Book Tour publisher, and I decided I've nothing to lose. So I submitted again. And I had an email asking if they could ring me. And believe me, I tell you, you don't say no. So I replied, obviously, yes, ring me. I'm here anytime, night, 24 hours a day. So they did. And that was 3 months later. 3 months after that, I signed my first publishing contract with Bookouture for 2 books that were published the following year. And they were psychological thrillers. And they were both, that was those 2. That was very, very first published book. So it's always got a really big place in my heart, Secrets Between Us. It's followed by
nice, beautiful covers, actually.
Yeah, they do lovely covers. Yeah, and they're very striking. So unfortunately, I didn't get another contract with them, which I found quite devastating. And again, it's a reality check. I mean, writing is a business. Publishers are businesses. They're not there because they love you and you love them. It's a business. And it is a hard learning curve to know that, you know, if your sales aren't huge, then, you know, they have other writers coming on board. So I sat back and I cried for a full day. And then I decided, you know, yeah, you do. And I was absolutely devastated for a full day. And then I thought, well, to hell with them. There are other publishers out there, and there are. And I was really, really lucky. I absolutely landed on my feet because I was signed 2 weeks later. I was signed with Bloodhound Books.
Wow.
And they suit me very well. Great publishers. They allow much more input, which is good, because in Bookouture are fantastic, but they gave you your cover, they gave you your title, whereas in Bloodhound Books, you have input into both. So I signed with them for 3 psychological thrillers, the first of which came out the following year in February, and that's been a really brilliant seller for me, The Three Women.
The Three Women. Can you give us a quick oversight of what that's about?
Yeah, it's a book about 3 friends. And I was going through, I was thinking a lot about friendship for a variety of reasons around the time. And I came up with this idea. It's not based on anybody I know, I hasten to add, but it's about 3 friends who meet in college, and something happens that they decide to keep a secret. Do for 20 years. And then one of them decides she wants to tell her partner, and the partner insists that she tell the other 2 friends the truth about what happened one night. And that leads to huge implications for the other 2. So the 3 of them have basically lived a lie for 20 years. And and the way it ends is quite interesting.
So
So
that's a pretty good hook, though, isn't it? Secrets. I mean, that's always going to be
I
a
think
winner.
psychological thrillers, yeah, it's always about secrets and lies.
Yeah.
I had, and Bloodhound also took on my self-published Irish crime series. So what started off as That One May Smile ended up being called No Simple Death, which
Now,
is
I know this book. I
yeah,
know this book
read
because
this.
I read it when it was When One May Smile,
Yeah,
and I still
years ago.
remember. I
Yeah,
still remember that it was Mike West, and I remember thinking that would be a good
yeah.
series. Yeah.
Mike West is just, he's the epitome of every decent guy out there. And I wanted to write a series where the main detective wasn't an alcoholic, didn't have major problems, because such a common trope. So I wanted just to write about a detective who loved his job, who loved detecting. So that's what ended up with that series. So that was the first, and then the last one, the sixth in the series, came out there last month.
And these are all set in Dublin, aren't they?
They're all set in Dublin, yeah, which is nice because it's where I'm from. Yeah, they're all set in the suburb of Foxrock, in fact. Some of it's invented, but I did use real places like Sturlogan Shopping Centre and Dundrum Shopping Centre and Dunn Stores. So they're all bits of Dublin that I know from my time
So
there.
is that the last we're going to hear of Mike West, or?
That is the last in the series for the moment. Now I'm do another book later on. It's very difficult to keep series going long term. And some people write series. I mean, Angie Marsons, for instance, writes a very long series. So does Patricia Gibney. I've just been joined by a cat, so
okay,
everything just suddenly falls apart.
That's life.
It is. I wouldn't mind. I left the back door open so he'd scoot out that way. Anyway, so my friend Jenny O'Brien, she writes a really good series based in Wales, which I hope will last because it's really good. In fact, her fourth one came out today, Lost Souls. I was looking for a really good book to read. I know.
Yeah, I am connected with Jenny O'Brien, actually.
Jenny's a
So I
sweetie.
have seen some of her work on the internet. So yeah, because you both come from a nursing background, is that right?
We met online in a Facebook group, and it turned out we're both nurses, and I was nursing at the time. It turned out we're from Dublin. We're both married to accountants. We both drove Ford Fiestas. Really bizarre series of connections. I've actually been to Guernsey to meet her. So yeah, Jenny's
that's wonderful. That's one. I mean, that isn't the internet is amazing, really, actually, for connecting. That's how you and I
absolutely.
have connected. But
Absolutely.
It really, when it's used for good, it can be the most wonderful thing. But I just want to come back to the nursing thing, really, because although you are Valerie Dickinson, you write under a different name. And
Yes.
I want to just clear that up for people who are watching.
I write under Valerie Keogh, and there was a very good reason, in fact, because when I couldn't get a publisher for my Irish series, I decided I'd try and write something a bit grittier, because gritty novels tend to be, they have a very good following. So I've also written a series, which I call the Hudson and Connolly series, about a serial killer who is Nicola Connolly, who is a nurse. At the time, I was working as a nurse, so I thought, writing a book about a serial killer who was a nurse and working as a nurse mightn't be the best idea. No. So I borrowed my mother's maiden name, is Keogh. So, but the funny thing is, Tracy, when I decided to use Valerie Keogh, I didn't realize the implications that people can't pronounce it. I mean, outside Ireland, people struggle to pronounce the surname. So I do have to say it sometimes.
I'm up there with you, because my surname is Curzon-Manners, and people actually struggle with the Curzon, believe it or not, and try to spell it all different kinds of ways, So I do get that, actually. It's a bit. Hopefully, I got it right for you, Keogh.
You did indeed.
Yeah, so I'm glad about that, if nothing else. But yeah, I mean, just going back to social media, actually. In terms of writing, because so many writers who are just starting out today, I mean, I'm not just starting out, I've been writing for a long time, but in terms of the writing word, I would still be classed as somebody trying to get a seat at the table, and there is so much pressure. I think maybe that writers even put on themselves today to get a large following on the internet, when actually it really should be about the content, the writing, the quality. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think a certain amount is expected. Now, my publisher's attitude would be do as much as you feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, concentrate on writing and leave the rest to us, which is perfect for me. I am on Twitter. I do use Instagram, but half of the time I've no idea what I'm doing. And I have to apologize to people because I don't reply for weeks because I didn't realize I got a message. So I'm really not very good. I probably use Facebook more, and it's where I've met many friends, which in a job where you are sitting on your own, working all day. I mean, I am a full-time writer now, so I'm on my own every day. I don't have children to annoy me. I only have a cat who's down there getting in my way. So to make connections with people who understand what you're doing is brilliant. I mean, Jenny and I are good friends now. And I will message her and saying, oh, I don't know what I'm good doing with this story. It's going nowhere and it's going to be rubbish and no one's going to love it. You know, and she will get back to me. In fact, I always say that, which I do. And the same with her. She will email me and say that, you know, whatever. And I'll say, no, you're fine. So that kind of support is worth its weight in gold.
I absolutely agree with you there. It's such a good feeling to find your tribe, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like-minded people who understand where you're coming from, because we all go through it. You know, the first draft misery.
And the
thinking,
second, third, fourth
really?
draft misery.
Yeah.
It's like Tracy. I was trying to explain to my sister who doesn't write. She reads my books. That's about it. She's read my books and 50 Shades of Grey, and that's about her reading history.
It's a start.
I know. I was trying to explain to her the concept of the multiple drafts, and her attitude was, why can't you just write it properly the first time?
Let me just get my magic wand there, because wouldn't that, if you could just, the images that are in your head are perfect. We all know that when we've had the dream and we wake up in the night and we're rushing to scribble it down, and then you come to put it on the page the next day. If you could just transfer that, wouldn't that just be amazing? But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. No, it doesn't work like that.
Not the way I write, because I'm not a planner. I wish I were. I have tried to plan, because I have people I know who literally plan out the whole book chapter by chapter. They will write a line for each chapter and they will know exactly where the story is going. Whereas I start my book with a vague idea sometimes and hope it works into a story. And sometimes, like my current one I'm writing at the moment, I am almost 50,000 words in and I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just something will, because at the moment it's just 50,000 words on a page or on my computer and such. But
it's also about that faith in keeping going, that there will be an end result, and that out of all those words that you write, there will be those that you discard inevitably. But there will be those that form the basis. I mean, I've tried both approaches. I've tried the pantster and the planner, and I journal as well. But I find that journaling freehand is very different to when you come to type on your computer. It's something shifts in the brain. I think it's a mindset, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
I suppose it's the difference between writing in a sort of leisurely way, casual, doesn't matter way, to actually this is the business end of the deal.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I mean, writing full time, I have to treat it as a business. And I do write every day. I mean, I write every single day. I rarely take a day off. I'm writing something. And I try to focus. At the moment, I have to focus because this book is due into my publisher on the 4th of June. So it's a very short time away. So I haven't even got a first draft written yet, but I will get there.
So how are you going to deal with that? Because that's quite an interesting thing for a writer to say, and all writers will understand this and be able to empathize with you, Val. But so here we are, the 21st of May. This is when this recording is happening. And your deadline is the 4th of June. You've got 50,000 words.
Yes.
So are you going to pull some all-nighters there?
I'll pull some all dayers anyway. The most I can write in a day would be around 4,000. So I'm aiming to get to 60,000 by the end of next week.
Mm.
And once I get to 60,000, the minimum that Bloodhound will accept for a novel is 60,000. So once I get to 60,000, I'm kind of on the home stretch then. So
you're on the life raft there, aren't you?
Yeah. My books tend to end up around between 65 and 70,000, which is relatively short. But my issue is I don't want to pad my books out to make them longer. So they're as long as the stories are.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping.
Well, I'm glad you kind of ended with that, because it leads nicely into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is your plots and where they come from. And also this idea that it is a popular genre, very much so, isn't it? Crime and psychological thriller.
Yeah.
People seem to buy them in their droves. So
Yeah.
I think the readers are getting cleverer at figuring out the whodunit, which kind of puts more stress on the writer to put their detective hat on even further, to give this kind of cat and mouse idea.
Absolutely. And it's just difficult. I mean, I sometimes hope that if I don't know what's going to happen in the end, then the reader won't either. But I sometimes get readers reviewing saying, I knew from the very beginning who was the bad guy. And how did they know? I didn't know. So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, and I think it's a problem too, is that some readers just read for the twist and they don't care about the story. They want to get to that twist to see if it's right or not. And they don't really think about
that's a shame. It's like people who read the back page before they've even begun the book.
Exactly.
Because it's a journey, isn't it? Surely for both the writer and the reader. I mean, we read for pleasure. We read to inform ourselves and to educate ourselves and to hopefully just learn something we didn't know, or just for the pure enjoyment of it.
Well, luckily they're the exception rather than the rule. Most people read to enjoy, and that's what I try to write. The kind of books that I like reading, just enjoyment. And psychological thrillers are. When I got my first publishing contract, I really wanted to write crime. I wasn't really keen on writing psychological thrillers, but now I actually really enjoy writing them. So are much more financially strong for me. Because as you say, people read psychological thrillers, they just keep wanting to read them. So
well, they do, and that brings me on to when we talked about the plot, but you mentioned when we were chatting before, in terms of your research, you actually don't, I mean, a lot of writers do go and visit places that they intend to write about, but you are more of navigating things from your office, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it'd be lovely to take a week off and go traveling around different places. It's easy for me in my Irish crime series because I'm from Dublin, so I as places I know, and that's actually quite fun. So I can see why some writers would enjoy going to places, because it's fun writing places that you know. My psychological thrillers are mostly based in and around London, a city I don't know particularly well, but I use Google Maps. The street views are brilliant.
And again, the internet, amazing.
It's fantastic. I spend more time because, strangely as it turns out, I don't write the gritty stuff anymore. Apart from my crime series, most of my characters are well-to-do. They all live in very posh houses. So for me, it's probably aspirational. It's probably where I want to live. So I have great fun spending time on Rightmove looking at houses.
But it's a brilliant, I mean, it's just another window, isn't it, on how a writer, from the writer's toolbox and the resources that are available, not just to writers, but to anybody who has an aspiration to write. So, if there is somebody out there who's watching this thinking, oh, I have this burning idea for a book, a crime thriller, psychological thriller, or whatever it may be, and I have no idea where to begin. What would your advice be to them?
Just sit down and write. People are put off because they think they need a degree or they need a creative writing course. They can't do it without. I didn't do a creative writing course. I do have a degree in English, but I don't think that was what helped me write. I just sit down and write the story. Don't worry if, I think what stopped me for so long was I'd write a paragraph and then I'd read it and think, oh, that's not good enough. And I'd delete it. Then I'd write another paragraph and I'd read it and I think, oh, that's not good enough either. And then delete it. No, I just write.
Yeah.
Don't delete it. Just write until you're finished. And then go back and make it sound better. I liken my writing to building a house. You get the foundation down, it's your first, then you put up the sides, then you put up the roof, then you put in the inside walls. It's all a series of progression. And then eventually you have this beautiful house, beautifully furnished. That's it. But
it is, and it's not easy, or well, it's as easy and it's as difficult as that. It literally is like opening your veins and bleeding. And I think that's maybe what people don't grasp, that they have this idea, and it's like painting, isn't it? You begin with a white canvas and you just throw some words at it to get rid of the white, and then from there you begin to build your ideas, and it's not always going to go well. And I think it's accepting that there will be successes and failures, And
it's hard work, and it's you have to put the time in, and you have to learn. I mean, you're learning all the time. It's like, as you say, like an artist, you're progressing your skills all the time. You learn from readers what they say. I mean, some reviews are great for making you think, oh, maybe I should do this, that, or the other. And listening to your writing friends, what they're doing or not doing, and of course, reading. I don't read as much as I used to because I just don't have time. But and you're learning all the time. And I hope my writing is improving all the time.
Yeah, well, for somebody who's written, how many is it? 18 books?
My 18th is out in July,
In July, and what is that going to be called?
That is going. I'll give you a sneak. I shouldn't really.
Oh well, we are honoured.
Oh, just frightened the cat.
Okay.
Going to be the cover.
The lies he told. How much do you trust your pawn? You see, I already want to open that book and read it.
Don't tell anybody you saw that. I'm not supposed to show the cover off for another month or so.
So we really are very honoured. Thank you very much for that exclusive. You heard it here first on Box Office. Thanks, Val, for that.
Like most writers, we love getting our covers, and Bloodhound are brilliant because you get your cover quite early. I mean, that won't be out until the end of July, and it won't be on for pre-order till mid-July. So seeing that early, you're honoured there. So
absolutely. Yeah,
I get all my psych thrillers. You can see behind me. I get them all made in these acrylics, so I can stand them up, and I
think they're beautiful, aren't they? It's just blowing my mind because I'm filled with complete envy, and I'm one day I'll maybe have something behind me with a similar look. It won't be crime thriller. I can assure you of that. But it would be nice to have one.
I can't believe it myself, Tracy. I mean, when I tell people I've written 18 books, they go, "What?" I say, "I know." It seems like yesterday I was trying to get somebody to take that first book that won me Smile, and I'm so despondent that nobody wanted it.
But that brings us back round again to absolute determination. If you have a real desire to pursue your dream, don't let anything stop you from. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not not unless you are incredibly lucky. For most people, most regular human beings, it's hard work, determination, and that overnight sensation took 20 years to achieve. That's the reality, isn't it? So, in terms of your first, just coming back to your first draft, how long do you give yourself time period to get that draft down? Because it is different for each writer, I think.
I tried to get my first draft down within 2 months.
Wow.
I tried to have an almost ready to publish draft ready within 3.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, that is some going, actually.
Yeah. It's just tiring. And I'm very lucky. lucky, unlucky. I don't have children. I don't know how people, and my friend Jenny, for instance, has 3 children. She works full time and she still manages to write a brilliant book. I have huge admiration for people who manage to do everything. I just write. So, the truth is I should be able to write a book in 3 months. I know people, some people can take a year. Everybody works the beat of their own drum, basically.
They do. I mean, we're just talking about Jenny again. I feel that we might have to have the flip side of the coin and have Jenny on the show, because then she can talk about how it works for her with children, So I think that would be interesting as well to lots of would-be writers out there. But yeah, I mean, 2 months together. I won't tell you how long I've been working on my first draft because it would make you cry. But yeah, it's coming back to that glass ceiling, really, isn't it, for writers? Because I think when you are trying so very hard to get your work out there, it can feel almost unobtainable, as though you're climbing a mountain that you're just never going to see the peak. And that's where a lot of people, sadly, they do give up, because they would get halfway up, maybe 3/4 of the way up, and then they give up just at that moment when success may be around the corner for them.
I mean, I might have given up when I didn't get a second contract at Book Couture, and I was very upset. But I think at that stage, I'd been writing for a number of years, and I just decided, no, I'm going to keep going. And I think that is the difference between a successful writer, if I can call myself that, and someone who isn't, is the ability to keep going, even though it just seems as if you're never going to get there. Now I make a living as a writer now, because I did persevere, and it's that combination of persevering, being willing to improve your writing as you're going along, accepting the blows that come, accepting the bad reviews, and just getting on with it. I think it makes the difference, and it's what makes people like me be able to make a good living from being a writer and from doing something I love.
Well, absolutely, and you've proved that over and over. I still can't believe you've written 18 books, but also accepting that there are many different levels to the publishing world. And funnily enough, I will be speaking with an independent publisher in the next episode, and I'll tell you about him in a moment. But most people, when they think about writing a book, in their heads, it's all about the big 5 publishers. It's about the big publishing deal. It's about getting an agent. It's the TV, the film rights. And I was guilty of being one of those people, because that's actually what you see of the publishing world. We are kind of geared by what we see on the television. And I think a lot of people think that's the only way to go, but it absolutely isn't. There are many levels to writing, and it's perfectly possible, as people like you have shown, to make a living as a writer, doing what you love, getting those books out, and getting an audience for them.
Absolutely. I do get translation rights, which is great. I mean, if someone wants to make a movie out of any of my books, just talk to my publisher.
I can see Mike West for me is a TV series. I mean, it's up there with Father Brown, and Midsummer Murders and those type of television series. So I think anybody who happens to come across this, just bear that in mind, because I can see Mike West for me is a living, breathing character. He's already out there doing his job. So somebody needs to pick that up for you.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And we love it. I mean, I think everybody, you'd want to be silly not to want all this stuff. But I think for me, my criteria was to be able to do it full time, to be able to give up my nursing job and just write and make a good living of doing it.
And do what you love. Yeah, I mean, because actually what if you take that, if you were to down tools, it's a big hole. I know for me it would be, I write because I love to write. And in the end, if it's seen, it's seen. If it's not, it's not. But it's not going to stop me from enjoying that. And I imagine it's the same for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm lucky because, being under contract, I know that my writing will be published and out there. For the moment, I mean, you get a contract for whatever. I think my current contract is 3 books. So I've one in July, I've one out in October, and I've one out in January. So
that really is some going, Val. I take my hat off to you for that. Absolutely.
But there is absolutely no guarantee that I will get a contract after that. And I think that was a big learning curve for me.
Yeah.
And so now I know that this is the way the business runs. And it's nothing personal. I mean, Book Couture didn't drop me because they didn't like me. It's a business, and you have
absolutely. And I think it's important for writers to get over that hurdle, that it isn't personal. It is about the translation of sales and marketing and all the rest of it. And you know, if your story happens to fit at that particular time, the rejection is not personal, although it feels like it. It feels like it.
It absolutely does. I tell you, I literally cried, Tracy, all that day. Cried. Bawled my eyes out. My husband cried my eyes out. I thought that was it. I was finished.
But you weren't finished. You picked yourself up, Val, and you've come out stronger, and you're still going strong. And I'm just looking at the time. I think we've run slightly over, but it's been absolutely fascinating, and I could go on for another half an hour. But I just want to thank you so much for joining me on An Audience Booked By. Wish you luck with your next book, The Lies He Told. I mean, I'm itching already to press that buy button, and it's not even out yet. So thank you very much. And I just want to say to those that are watching, thanks for joining us. And we will be back for episode 4. I can't believe it. We're over halfway through season 1 already. And I will be joined by the bearded badger himself, who is the bookshop owner and independent publisher, Mr. Paul Handley. So look out for that, because that's going to be an extraordinary conversation. I feel it already. But for now, my thanks again to Val. Good luck. And we'll catch up with you again in the future to see how things are going.
That'd be really good.
Okay. Thanks very much. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.